going to introduce Bob today because he's going to discuss something near and dear to my own heart, and that is the concept of co-housing. As residents of senior living communities, this concept will not be entirely new to you. However, as you watch Bob's presentation today on an inspirational co-housing community for seniors, imagine a similar style of living for all generations. Perhaps in the future, our children and their children will adopt this sustainable way of living and develop a better sense of connection and community. Now, a little bit about Bob himself. Bob was born in England of an English mother and a Scottish father. At the age of 11, he moved to Scotland. He graduated from Glasgow University with a degree in physics. He and his family moved to the greater Boston area in 1978, and there they joined the local Unitarian Universalist congregation. They have continued to be active Unitarian Universalists now at UUCM in Grass Valley, California. Bob worked in the computer industry in a variety of roles and for companies large and small. His major contributions were as a manager of software engineers for both large companies and 2 startups. In the winter months, Bob is a ski bum in both downhill and cross country. In the summer, he rides a mountain bike and hikes. I will now turn the meeting over to Bob, who will tell you all about his co-housing community in the California Sierra Nevada mountains. Okay, Bob, so you can go ahead and start screen sharing and I will spotlight you.
Okay, so I'm talking to you from what is not really sunny California at the moment, but I'm talking to you from Wolf Creek Lodge. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go very quickly through a set of slides. And I'm really hoping we can get to a question and answer, because I think that's going to be more interesting for you and more interesting for me. So let's just take off. And Michelle, if I'm going too quickly, just let me know, okay?
Absolutely.
So we're talking about co-housing. There's maybe about 165 co-housing communities in the US. Of that, about 30 are senior. We are a senior co-housing community here. I think the average age is about 75, so we're clearly a lot older than all of you guys, right? And if you want to know more about co-housing, you can certainly go to cohousing.org, which is the national organization. So at Wolf Creek Lodge, there's 30 homes, about 40 adults living here. We like to have common meals 2 or 3 times a week, so we're eating together. Not everybody has to be there. You go there if you want to. We'll be talking more about that later. We're very much a community, and we're really very good neighbors to one another, is one way of putting it. So where are we? So we're somewhere between Sacramento and Truckee on I-80. But at Auburn, you take a diversion along 49 to the Twin Cities of Grass Valley and Nevada County. So that's where we are. It's probably snowing on the summit as you go into Truckee this morning. So we live independently, and you can see here individual homes all at one level. And you see that there are actually 3 levels of homes there. We all have a front patio and usually one at the back. On the left corner, you can see sort of doors. That is what we call our common house, which is a very key feature of a co-housing community. And again, we'll talk about that later. But in the common house, there's a kitchen, a living room, a sitting room, a multi-purpose room, an office, and a laundry. So that's a lot of significant space. So as I say, we enjoy working together, and you can see our patio there. And actually, the top right-hand side, you can just about see our spa. And again, we'll be mentioning that. And here's some spectators looking at the petanque game, getting a little too excited about it. So I'm going to focus today on sustainability. Often when we're talking about co-housing, we talk about community, and that is very important. But today, the emphasis to a certain extent is on sustainability, because I know that's what all you guys are interested in. So again, here's a picture of the other wing. I'm actually talking to you from a home that's right at the end there on the second level. I could go out and wave to you, but I'm not sure that would work. And notice that because the homes are side by side, on one on top of the other, that the heat insulation is really good. So if heat in my home leaks into my neighbor's home, that's not lost heat. That's all, if you like, infinite insulation. And really think of these people, they've all probably come from quite big homes, single family homes on 2 or 3 acres. So when they move into a construction like this, then they're going to be radically reducing their carbon footprint. On the top, you can see some solar panels. They're in fact solar thermal panels, and we'll talking more about them on the next slide. So if we look on the right-hand side here, we're looking down on the lodge, and on the left, you can see those solar thermal panels, but on the right, you can see solar photovoltaic panels, which are generating electricity. There's actually more than you can actually see there. The solar thermal panels, that was part of the original construction. The electric ones we added later. You should certainly do solar thermal before you worry about solar photovoltaic. On the left, you can see that it was 2012 when the Wolf Creek Lodge was built, and you can see the guy blowing insulation into the walls. And the walls are exceptionally thick, much thicker than normal code, both for heat insulation, but also for sound insulation. So here's how we heat our homes. It's all done from a central boiler. And on the left, you can see this big tank. That's where the water from the solar thermal panels is circulated. So on a warm day, the furnaces won't fire up. The solar thermal will be perfectly adequate. But there's just one furnace or heating system for all 30 homes and the common house. And this heat is for underfloor heating and also for domestic hot water. We have level 2 electric vehicle chargers at every parking space. So that means we've got 30 chargers. Again, this was something we added later. I could talk a lot about that, and maybe if you've got some questions, we'll get there. But there's somebody charging their Rivian in the underground garage. There's a picture of some of the other parking spaces. Again, you can see all of the charging stations glowing in the dark, if you like. And here's one of our members had an e-bike, and that fine-looking yellow lime green car is my Chevy Bolt. So there you go. We are good on recycling. We have, again, because we share a lot of things and we're very good neighbors, we just need one set of containers for all the different colored bottles, for the aluminum cans, etc., etc. We got rotating composters there, and Gail on bottom right is showing what great stuff we generate for our gardens. Common meals. I said we'd talk about that. Common meals are a key part of co-housing. The idea is if you eat together, regulate, then that's a very good way of forming community and staying in touch with one another and appreciating one another for what we are. So here we are eating out on the patio in the summer. And here's us inside the common house in the dining room. And you know, this is probably a holiday celebration or something, and we've got visiting kids and grandchildren, and of course they're always very welcome. This is a cook team that's preparing a meal, and the notion is that if you want a cook team once a month, then that allows us to have many common meals during the week. Most Saturdays we do a potluck. Potluck is very different from a common meal. Common meal is more about like sitting down in a restaurant. A potluck, I'm sure you're all familiar with potlucks. So at the end of the meal, then the team has to clean up, and they're putting the stuff in the washing machine slash dishwasher slash sterilizer. Walkability. Now, I think I'm going to slow down here and say that I think this is key from a carbon footprint point of view. To what extent do you have to drive regularly about during your normal day-to-day living? And I would say at Wolf Creek Lodge, you don't need to drive at all. And I don't know how clear this is, but the little red triangle, that's Wolf Creek Lodge there. You can see the sort of the L-shaped thing is the building. If you look towards the top and the left, you can see Rayleigh's, a shopping area. And if you look more to the right, you can see SPD, which is another supermarket. There's a Target store there, there's a bank, there's restaurants, there's a fish and chip shop, there's a Baskin Robbins, what more do you want? And all of that is within 5, 6, 7 minutes walk. And I think I've read the phrase these days, the 15-minute city. I would say that Wolf Creek Lodge is a 5-minute community. So, and also, if you look to the left, you can see Wolf Creek. So Wolf Creek Lodge sits on Wolf Creek itself. And you can't really see it, but towards the right is the Empire Mine State Park. So 700 yards away from the lodge, there's this park, and there's 14 miles of trails through trees and what have you there. And you can go for a walk in there, ride your mountain bike, ride a horse, whatever. So walkability is key. And, you know, you don't need a car here. There's at least one lady, no, there's two, don't have a car. So there's farmers markets. I can see the farmers market out my back window when they hold it. And I'm never quite sure what this slide on the right is trying to show, but I think maybe the point is that the street on which Wolf Creek Lodge sits is again very walkable. It's low traffic street. Here's the trail. So I told you that Wolf Creek Lodge sits on Wolf Creek. The town built this paved trail along the creek. Great place to go for a stroll or a walk or what have you. This is Wolf Creek itself. And you notice there's a single track trail as well, which is nearer the creek itself. All right, so as co-housing, we don't have any management company. We run the place ourselves. We look after the place ourselves. It's up to us. So the question is, how do we manage ourselves? And the key is we take decisions by consensus. This is us at a general meeting, and we'll be discussing various proposals. And then we don't vote. We say we take decisions, and we have 5 colored cards. A green card says, I really support this motion. A red card says, I block it. You cannot go ahead. You do not have consensus. An orange card would say, well, I'm not super enthusiastic about this, but I'll go along with it because I see that's the way the community wants to go. All right. So how do we get the work done? So, you know, we will hire out the more challenging jobs, but basically the more straightforward things we do ourselves. So we do yard work. That's me cleaning vacuuming the rug outside the common house. We dust the cobwebs, we grind the coffee in the common house. There's Richard working on our Wi-Fi systems, got Wi-Fi throughout the community. About roughly every quarter, we have what we call a work day, where we sign up for a more significant cleaning job. And so we gather on the work day, we do the work, and then sit down together for lunch when it's all over. So that's getting the work done. What our homes look like? Well, one thing about the homes is because, well, we'll get into it later, but because we've got guest rooms, you don't need an extra guest room in your home. Because we've got a common furnace, you don't need a furnace. And because we've got a laundry, you don't need a washing machine and dryer. So our homes can be smaller than you might think, but in fact, it feels a lot bigger because you don't need these other things. And also, you've got the whole common area as part of your home. So here's Suzanne in a 1-bedroom home. This is Jimmy and Judith's 2-bedroom homes and their cat. So what do we share? You know, since we're a close-knit community, it's easy to share things. And so we got this spa that I talked about before. That's Norma in the spa. We got a tool shed, a toolbox that in the multi-purpose room, so we can all share that. We don't each need a ladder. We got our own, and we can share the holiday tree. And we've got a widescreen display in the common room that we use for meetings, and we also show movies on there on a Wednesday night. We got a gourmet kitchen, that's Gail in the kitchen. This is our dining room, and we clear away those tables for yoga on a Monday, qigong twice a week. There's a ukulele band gets together in the common house there. And I talked about guest rooms. We've got 3 guest rooms. You don't need to pay for those. You just sign up, and your only obligation is to make sure they're clean when your guests leave. This is our shared laundry. There's a multi-purpose room. That's an old picture of my wife working away. She's actually hovering in the background here to make sure I say the right things. And on the right-hand side is the sitting room, and the coffee group will be meeting there even as I speak. So we've talked about a lot of things, and I think we've seen how just the nature of the building, the walkability is very good from a carbon footprint point of view. But I like to say, what about the several hundred million other people in the United States? Are they doing the right thing for the planet? And I would encourage everybody to get involved with advocacy, because you want to tell your legislatures to enact appropriate legislation to solve the climate issue. And there's lots of different climate organizations. I encourage you to join one of them. I'm a supporter of Citizens Climate Lobby. There you see me in the July the 4th parade, talking about carbon fee and dividend. And that's my granddaughter on the right. She is dividend, and she's handing out dollar bills to kids that she thinks are cuter than the other kids or something. So, but there are all sorts of sort of subgroups within Citizens Climate Lobby. Each of the faith groups has an action team. So that would be one thing you could do. But of course, there are a lot of other climate-oriented organizations. So that's my quick spiel. I hope you've got some questions. We have great sunsets here. Here's how you can contact me. We will have a virtual open house this Saturday. So if you send me an email to info@wolfcreeklodge.org, that's .org, not .com, then I'll give you the link for our virtual open house on Saturday.